the cross section in the hypermesh, mesh it, and then export it to Fluent to do the analysis.
Go ahead. All right. So we're going to open up hypermesh here. All programs, CAD programs, Altair, hypermesh. Hypermesh. We're going to do it in. We're going to put the profile as CFD at the bottom there. That's very important. You're not going to be able to do this unless you make sure this is CFD. This should pop up at startup. If not, there's another way to get to it. Remember, if you go, yeah, so to get back to that, if you go to Preferences, User Profiles, that will bring up that same thing. So we want to make sure we're in CFD. All right, so let's import our IGES. So we have our thing here, so we just click Import, and we want to import file type IGES, and we're going to look for it wherever it's at. So you said, so groups folder.
Yeah, so go to J drive.
Groups. Oh. Just right here? That one? Okay.
So make sure everyone's small.
So import. Oh, great. Now I get a phone call. Okay. Is everyone here?
So now you'll open up hypermesh. He's almost there.
That's all right. So just as a quick reference, later we're going to want to make sure we rotate this thing so that it is X, Y, Z, and then we're going to be looking at it like flat, because right now it's like this. We want it to look like this, where it's the left side is the inlet and the right side is the outlet, and be X, Y, Z. So we're going to rotate this thing, but we'll do everything first and then we'll rotate it.
Can you change that color?
Yeah, I can do that. Is that easier to see? Yeah, like one of these like that right there. Just kidding. All right, here it is. All right, so now we're going to make some new components. And so just right-click in here, you say Create Component. And the first one we're going to call Wall. And we'll make that one, try to make something visible. I'm going to uncheck this box so I can just keep making them until I'm done. Body. We'll make this one green. Create, and then another one called Inlet. I'll make that yellow. And Outlet. Make outlet magenta. And then it says to make one called box mesh. I discovered I don't think we actually need to do that. So if you do, it's not going to hurt anything. You're just not actually going to use that component. Okay, now we're going to create line meshes to represent the car and also represent the space around it. Hopefully your car is a little bit closer to the ground, because that way, if you have a lot of space above and below, it's going to more or less represent a car flying through the air. But if you have, so if you wanted to see how it looks when you go off jumps, I guess you could do this. But for the most part, if you want to have it close to the ground, it'll better mimic how is it going over that way. But I'm just going to keep going with it with here because you can still get a result. Okay, so we're going to create line meshes. You can do that by saying Mesh, Create Line Mesh, or you can also get there by going to 1D Line Mesh right here. So I'm going to select these 4 lines. So it's important that you do the line mesh all at once. If I were to just do a line mesh of a few lines, like top and bottom, and then the sides separately, it's going to leave gaps in the corner. But if I mesh it all at the same time and then organize the elements like we will later, then it'll stay connected. So we want to do this. Make sure your element config is set to configuration is set to plot. And when we say mesh, and element size. How long was this about? We'll say what?
The car?
Yeah.
The car was 1140 long.
1140. So that's 1140. That'll be like 400 or so.
So it should be roughly
about 400.
3,400, 3,300. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, 1140, 1,140.
Yeah.
Okay. So about 3,500.
Oh yeah. So
Divided by, so like
40 times 4, 45.
about 200 or so. Let's see what happens there. If we make an element size of about 200, that looks pretty good. So it has 58, which will be pretty good. Yeah, that's probably about good. So in this tutorial, Alan recommends that you have an element size of approximately 1/20th the length of any box edge. So this is probably about good, this size. And so you can actually click on this where the number is right here. You can click on it and it'll add more elements, or you can right click on it and it'll take away from the elements. So that's probably good. We'll put 60 for a good round number. And well, hold on. That should still work, hopefully. Okay, so once we're ready, then we hit return and then it will make that mesh. So now we're going to do it again for the lines in here. So I'm just going to hit shift and drag, and it'll select these lines 1, 2, and for this one, let's do an element size of about. So if it's about 1,000.
You want to do 1/20th of that?
Yeah, about 1/20th. What's 1/20th of 1,000? Like 50 or so?
About 60.
Okay, so let's do
60, something like that.
50. Let's see what happens there. Mesh. That looks pretty good, I think. If we have that.
What did you pick for your element size?
I did 50. As long you want this to be tighter than the one out here. And that's about, let's see, 23. It looks like there's one line that goes about from here to there, and the other line goes here, and that's probably okay. So hit return. So now we have those. Okay, now we have we have all these elements, but they're all still in. Actually, they're in outlet because that's the active one. So we're going to organize these into the correct components. So if I hit return and say tool, organize. And so we want to organize first the ones in the car shell. So it's going to select elements. So I'm just going to shift drag like that. And we're going to put that one into body. Move. So now those are in the body element.
Where is the menu? It's under tools, organize.
Oh man. All right, we have a gap here. I'm not sure this is going to work. Does anyone else have a gap on theirs?
Yeah. Well, I have a gap, and I have just a small line there.
Okay, let's see what's going on here. So 1D line mesh, this line and that line. Are these connected here? They should be. Okay, let's try that again. Mesh.
Can you change the mesh size?
Maybe that did it. Let's see.
There you go.
Yeah, it looks good.
So you change the mesh size?
Yeah, because for some reason it didn't close the gap there. So just make sure that it does get that last thing. If we have gaps in this, it's not going to work.
So how do you go and redo that one then? How do you redo that mesh?
So I just deleted the mesh first. I just hit F2 or tool delete, and then I said elements, and I just selected them by shift dragging them and deleted them, and then I went back to 1D line mesh or mesh create line mesh, and then I reselected those lines, and did it again, then just added another one. So, is anyone to this point?
No.
Okay. Sorry, which mesh?
So for the wall.
And hopefully, yeah, the wall should be closed because it recognizes it as one line.
200.
And to be honest, like the IGES that I did on earlier from NX, like the lines on the outside, it recognizes it as 4 separate lines, and this one recognizes each segment as a different line. So this one's a little bit different because it recognizes this as one line here on the outside, but I hope that it'll still work. I think it will. I think that it will. So
outside still in outlet?
yes, they're all still in outlet. So I'm going to start organizing this. Tool, organize. So I want to move these to body, move, and then I want to move the top and the bottom. So those and those. I'm going to move those to wall. And then outlet. So this is already an outlet, and so this one I'm going to move to inlet. All those to inlet.
Does it matter if the top and the bottom you move them separately? Like if you move just the top and then you move
Just no, because you're just putting stuff over there. You can put it in any order you want. You could even, if you wanted to click one by one, you could move that one and that one and that one and that one. Sorry, what?
What are the numbers on the car body?
Mine was 50 on the bottom, 48 on the bottom, and 20 something on the top.
24.
It'll probably be a little bit different
23, but you have to go
for you. Are you using the same shell though?
She is.
Oh, okay.
Hers is like 13.
So I hit what element size is yours set to? Yeah, we're gonna want a lot more than that. So let's. See right here, there's a gap, and I don't know why I did that, but it's an element here, the green one, but there's a gap right there. So he increased it a little bit. Yeah, I clicked it once and then it made reassign it and then close the gap. Hopefully.
We want the mesh inside the same, inside the
Yes. Yeah, we're moving that. Now we're moving them to the right place. Yeah, so the lines are still, like if I turn off all of the meshes, the lines are all still in level 1000 because that's the, that's where it's coming in from. Okay. So,
Then once you finish the mesh here, start to take
on the car, we're gonna have we want a larger number. We want a finer mesh going around the car. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
So, because this one's probably going to be good enough, the mesh that I have. There's wall, body, inlet, outlet. So it'll probably be tight enough. You could even make it even tighter if you wanted to. Okay, so now that we have those elements organized, okay, now we're going to make a 2D BL mesh. So HyperMesh has a really nice way to already mesh this thing. So on this menu here, so we usually look at model with the assembly hierarchy and components and forces and everything. So, but if we go to utility, this tab here, there is a button, generate 2D BL mesh. So this is the CFD utility menu. This probably won't even be there if you're on a different profile. So as long as you're on CFD. So it's going to generate a plain 2D mesh with boundary edges and all that stuff. So it brings up this menu, and in here we are going to.
there again?
So
the utility tab.
utility tab on the left, right here. So when this pops up, we're going to click on Add Collector, which is this button over here, and then it'll ask which components we want. So if we click on this, we're going to want the wall, the body, the inlet, and the outlet. And we say select and proceed. Okay, so now it brings up these default values. So we're going to change this. I think, no, you can leave it in the default. That's what I did the first time. But this is a pretty fine mesh, so it might take a long time to solve. So I'm going to try changing this